Yeah, MLB data warehouse. Where the spreadsheets glow and the takes get spicy. John, Tim, Doc, let's go. Welcome to the warehouse, stat stack to the ceilings. Exit below's flying, launch angles got a feeling. Tim in the corner with the prospect report. Reading fan graphs, blurbs like it's soft court sport. Junior and double A, Tim's losing.
Yo, a new thing. It's what I always wanted to do. You know, if I was full-time, bro, on it, we could do this all the time. But some people are lucky enough to do that. But we're going to do a little Tuesday night slate breakdown, DFS, betting and stuff. And here's Trevor. Here's the guy, MLB Data Warehouse subscribers. I've been reading him, but this is the first time I've talked to him, like, live. So this is Trevor, everybody. Hello.
Hey, yeah, it's interesting. For all the years we've talked on X and Twitter, this is the first time we've ever jumped on a stream together, so it's kind of cool. I started using John's data years ago, before we could all become vibe coders. So But one of the things he's really good at is processing data and getting it in a format that's like readable and accessible, which is something I always liked. I cut myself in the DFS streets, right? Like I was living in Cali. I was on DraftKings back in 11 and 12 when it first got started. And, back then there was different edges, right? Like I watched the rise and fall of guys like Tommy G and, DFS was wild back then. But if you understood game theory and I came from a poker background, I kind of took to it, and it's just always been fun for me. It's never been a full-time living thing.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the DFS people came from poker. Like poker got real popular in the early 2000s, and then whatever kind of all transferred over there. A little easier, a little quicker. You don't have to sit in a casino chair for 20 hours a day or whatever, but that's cool. So Trevor, like you're on the West Coast, but you're kind of a nomad or something, right? You just kind of
So we actually travel full time. So my business is fully remote. I'm actually I own a life and health and retirement insurance agency is what I really do to pay the bills. But this is fun. This is my hobby. I work a lot, so I need something to disconnect because otherwise all I'll think about is work. And I love baseball and football, and I know a lot of people in the community, and but we travel full time. So Starlink is the game changer. We're currently in Colorado on the Western Slope by Gunnison National Park, but Starlink made it so I can actually do this from anywhere, and that's what really let us go start traveling the way we do.
So Starlink should sponsor us because that's who runs Tim's internet too. Although we've had mixed results there, but we're getting better. So Trevor, you were like, I think before, obviously I've comped your subscription, right? You're not paying me anything anymore because you're helping out. But before I did that, you were my highest grossing customer, I think, because you jumped on like immediately, and I had just been getting the monthly fees right from the beginning. So
I think I paid yearly always, but it's just one of those. Like I said, I always liked how you process data, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for data that I can get access to, so I don't have to go and like do the research, right? Like I don't want to have to go into Savant, go create the reports, go pull the data. Like I wanted the data in a dashboard in front of me so that I can say, okay, hey, based upon this is what I'm looking for. And, I'll give a lot of people tips and tricks, but I'm not giving everybody all the secret sauce. Like there's a few things, like I've spent a lot of money and take some lessons on learning like how money moves and why it moves the way it does and what we're looking for. But frankly, I'm trying to most of the time fade the public, and bet with the books. They're all making billions of dollars a year. So if there's a way for us to bet on the side of the books, it's there. I also, if we start talking about betting this year, and the hot topic everybody gets over is, the baseballs that are getting used. I think there is a little math behind that. I'm friends with some actual players, and I know like a little more than I'll talk about publicly, but there is definitely there is a little bit to it, but I don't think it's as much as it's let out to be. But there's just guys are more sophisticated. They know what guys are throwing, and They understand launch angle now and back speed and all the things we figured out that matter.
Friends with players. That's interesting, but we'll stop there. I won't press you on that, but that's cool. So yeah, Trevor writes the daily slip every day, 5-6 times a week, whenever you can get to it. Gives out some picks and stuff, and he's really good at using the tools, knowing how to use them. He's also been tracking stuff. He's better at that than I am because he takes this stuff seriously. I'm kind of just in it for the fun and then the content and to make kind of my half living that way. But we had a good day yesterday, and I wasn't going to bring this up, but you said we should look at it. And I had a $1. I maxed this thing on DraftKings, so it's not like I threw in a single $1. But one of the lineups, it was a really good day for the projection models. I ended up taking second in a massive contest. It was the 150 max $1, whatever it was. The mini max out of how many people were in that? That's worth checking, I guess. I took second out of 17,800 people. So that's pretty cool. So here was the lineup. No guarantee that this will happen again. And it's not like we have all the projections that just dominate all the time, but Yamamoto and Wu for me. And then a Diamondback stack, which I didn't even select them as one of the stacks in the optimizer, but it wasn't really a stack, just 3 Diamondbacks, but the right ones, or 4 there, Arenado, Marte, Moreno, but Ryan Waldschmidt at 3% owned, 31 points, and I had the 2 big expensive pitchers that worked out. So that was pretty cool for me, my second bigger hit of the year. So
yeah, so I mean, I like what you did here, other than so I will say I don't know that I would have thrown Yamamoto with him, but here's why I like it. Not a lot of people were willing to eat 2 40% owned pitchers. Okay. So that definitely, while they're higher owned, when it comes to game theory, the reality is not a lot of people are going to run that same combo to get to where they are. And then, he was willing to spend up for Bush. He was popular, but you start getting Waldschmidt at 3%, Schumann, right? 19 points at 3% at 2,400. Those are the hits you got to have to take down big tournaments. Is you got to get those guys off. But he correlated, stacked it, right? And if Judge wasn't a bum, you would have won. So and that's I mean, he put up 5 points on there. So
the guy ahead of me had him too, so it didn't matter. But.
Yeah. Okay. So it was okay. So I didn't get a chance to look at it, but that's what you're looking for is how do you correlate? How do you get it there? I personally play a lot of single entry 3 max. That's what I like. I like the single entry side of things. That's where my big, comma wins have all come from is single entry or 3 max. I think it's, you can get a little bit different there and you can miss a little easier, versus here, this is what John's doing is also a good way to learn how to get 150 entries in, how to learn how to use the optimizer without spending $3,000 a day. I think that's super important.
Yeah, I can't be doing that, with the family and stuff. So I did not build to take any credit away from me. I did not intend to put that lineup together. I just put in the settings in the optimizer and let it run 150. So yeah, it wasn't like I handpicked this lineup or anything like that. But that's kind of how you have to play. And whatever, you don't have to play it that way, but
letting the optimizer do the math data
and
saying, hey, this makes sense here. Look at these correlations. And I do that for betting, right? I actually run when I'm looking at my daily stuff, I go run the max lineups and I see if the optimizer is pushing out certain amounts of certain players at me. Hey, why is it throwing this guy at me? And then I'll go look at his lines for the day. Okay. Hey, Waldschmidt's getting punched up. Schemann's getting punched up. Why are those lower valued guys getting pushed? And it's dollars to there. But then I look at the books and say, hey, do I feel based upon projection, are they, misvaluing their line?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that was fun, and we got some money to play with. But let's talk about today. You've been doing some tracking with some of the tools and your own inputs and stuff. So tell us about that, how it's gone, and what's been most successful, or whatever else.
Yeah. So for me, I literally track every bet, right? So we keep the daily slip that's coming out. These are public. You can in terms of I'm not just putting them out and saying, hey, this is what we're doing. But this year, right, we're currently up 32.2 units on an 18% ROI. It's incredible. Like I'm having an unbelievable baseball year. I'm trying to generate in betting 3 to 5%. If I can get 3 to 5% on my money, that's great. I've made money. I had fun. And you got to be careful, right? If you win, as crazy as it is, if you win too much, you got to spread this across books, because if you win too much, they're going to limit you. Yeah. Like I do have a couple books like we've just done too well out over the years. Like I'm limited. I'm not getting anywhere. But one of the things that helps is I bet home runs. It's something that I've taken Jon's data, some other data I have access to. Shout out to Mike and Moonshot. I like his stuff. I look at a lot of data though, and I'm trying to see like where the value is and on the mispricing. Now, when the books first came out, like stuff was way more off. They're much sharper now. They have years of data now. But they still misprice stuff every day. There's thousands and thousands of bets every day. And I'm looking for 3 to 5 or 6 that I think are off that we can take advantage of. But yeah, I mean, we went up another 4.25 units yesterday. We hit a wild one, right? We didn't have a ton on it. We had a quarter unit on it, but yeah, I get Goldie. We bet him first plate appearance, and everybody's like, "What?" Like, the math. If you go look at the math behind Goldie when he hits a home run in his first plate appearance for the Yankees, it's kind of crazy. And so I mapped that should have been plus 850. So instead, we got it for plus 1200. I'm willing to risk when I can get that kind of value there.
And I didn't read close enough because I just, like I was texting you, I was getting my kids ice cream at Culver's, and I was reading it while I was waiting, and I just threw in, $10 on Goldschmidt to homer, not in the first at bat, but it makes a lot of sense because in that case, Goldschmidt's only in there against lefties, so he probably wouldn't. I don't know if he finished that game, but he's oftentimes by the 6th inning he gets replaced because a right-handed reliever comes in or whatever. So if you thought he was going to homer, it made a lot of sense for him to do it right away.
Yeah, it's like when Cincy throws Benson in the first spot. He's just getting a couple at bats. Like if they have him up top, understand you're getting two at bats, maybe 3 if they get hot, but it's not there. Same, right? If they put Goldie up there, they're going to turn him, but they're pretty good about like where it's matchup driven and where it goes.
Patrick
and then
Corbin, that was a dream spot for Goldschmidt.
Yeah, like it's just right. If you start looking at what pitches he hits and like I'm not a big BVP guy, but what I am is I'm a big what do guys hit well. Like I love ISO. I think ISO is a great tool to to understand what guys hit well. Like hey, some guys crush sliders, some guys couldn't hit one with a cricket ball paddle. So
yeah, I'll throw up the boom hitters here. Let's start with this, and we'll shift to today. Looking at some stuff to do today. Here's the boom hitters. I'll explain this for anybody not familiar. Real quick, it looks at each hitter and the pitcher they're facing tonight. So in the case of Austin Riley here, it'll look at what Braxton Garrett throws, and it's the actual movement characteristics of his pitches too. So it's not just, left-handed sinkers. It's left-handed sinkers that move like this in 3-dimensional space. It widens that a little bit, finds other pitchers to cluster with, opens up those pitches, and sees how Austin Riley did against those pitches in the last few years. So the example here, Riley has seen 545 pitches that cluster with Garrett's stuff. A 4.13 expected WOBA, a 10.5% swinging strike rate, which is pretty low, a 15.3% barrel rate. There's a little formula here. If you have a swinging strike rate below 12% and an ex-WOBA over 350, I think, and a barrel rate above 12%, you qualify as a boom hitters. These guys typically slug, if you track the boom hitters, which we have, they slug almost 500. Obviously, you have good hitters on here. You're not going to get Luis Arraez showing up on here no matter who the matchup is, whatever. So it's a little bit of a bias sample in that. Like these are slugging hitters. But here they are for today. Riley, Henderson, Alonso, James Wood, Jordan Alvarez, Ryan Jeffers, Christian Yelich, Jake Bowers, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith. Does anybody here really stand out to you? I typically use these as like over 1.5 total base bets or run hits RBIs.
Yeah, that's generally what I'm looking at this for. So now, like, I'll go look at these and I'll go like quick glance, like, hey, do I think there's a spot? Is there a park factor in there? too, right? And I know you're baking that in, but I go quick.
I'm not. The park's not baked into this at all.
Okay, so I go. Good to know. I never knew that. I always assumed a little bit of it was, but I go look at the weather and the park factor of the day, right? Like today, if you go look at the weather, it's hot back east and the wind's blowing out everywhere. Yeah. So like overall, it's there. And then I'm trying to see, like, one of the things I like to do on them is like I'll go quick check their mashups, right, in the tools and be like, okay, hey, McCullers. Let's go. We got 2 guys in that game, and I know McCullers has given up 7 jacks this season, and he's given up a 50% hard hit rate, okay? And he gives up a 30% hard hit rate to home run fly ball rate to lefties. So I'm like, oh, all right, now I'm, like that's what, okay, so there's Jeffers with that. And then I'm looking at Zebby, right? He just got pulled back up, but what's his historical stuff? Yeah. Because Jordan's just been on a tear this year. And do I think, like, am I getting him priced better than I want, right? Like Jordan, he's right at insane. Him and James Wood, almost a 22% barrel rate is crazy.
Yeah, let me add to that because Zebby had a good start in that last one. I think this Jordan spot is very good. I mean, you could say that pretty much every day. But if we look at Zebby, I mean, that start last time out, whatever he did, 7 innings, 1 run or whatever it was against the Marlins, that was like so unexpected because he had been bad in AAA. So if we go back to last year, include his data, he's against lefties, he's given up 9 homers in a small sample. I mean, that's a really high home run rate, a 368 expected WOBA, and just a 29% ground ball rate gotten by Zebby against lefties. So this is pretty much a dream spot for Jordan, so we could put him on the board. You mentioned the weather. I'll pull that up right here. Like this Houston game is actually not one of them. 48 degrees in Minnesota, but probably, Jordan hits the ball very far to the point where the wind and the temperatures can't do too much to it. But what you said there, Cincy, Philly, Mets at Nationals, Blue Jays at Yankees, and then the Giants at the Diamondbacks, almost near, 3 of those are above 90 degrees. It is hot. So.
Yep. Yeah. And then I'm looking, right? Like, what's the wind doing, right? What's the direction? Is it favoring that guy? Like today, I'm in Colorado right now. It's colder here. It's going to be warmer by the end of the weekend. But, we'll talk about that. When it's cold in Colorado, like, I want to fade it because everybody just automatically goes to Colorado. Fair. But, like, when I know, hey, it's not going to be warm and it's going to be cold, I want to get that spot. But, right, like, humidity, and for people that don't know, humidity also affects the fly ball rate, right? So I take that into account when I'm looking at, hey, is it going to be a little humid there? Then we got some, like the Mets at Washington, right? 90 degrees, right? Like 13%, like a little left to right, not a ton of wind, but we saw what happened when the Mets did at the end of the game last night. So
yeah, it's good hitting weather there. There's a lot of good pitchers on the board, though. Let's take one more look at the boom hitters just for people to look at. So there you go. If you're watching, good bets for some loud contact tonight. One thing, like if you see a 22% barrel rate, you can also look at fly ball rate's not here, but on the web app for subscribers, you have the fly ball rate there. That can maybe make a difference. Okay, maybe you want Wood and Alvarez for a home run since they're barreling it more. While Freddie Freeman, not the most fly ball guy, more of a line drive guy, maybe you want him for a couple hits or a double or something like that.
Yeah, and then I'm going to go look at like lineup projections. Are they moving guys around tonight, right? Like I'm going to go like quick glance like, hey, where do I think Minnesota is going to set, right? Where do I think Minnesota is going to set Jeffers tonight, for example? And then people overreact. Like Ben Brown was great last outing, right? Like Cy Brown, like he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he's good.
So, and I'm actually a Ben Brown believer. I'm a fan. I own quite a bit of them in season long and best ball, but
nobody seems to be with me on that. I'm glad to hear
I'm on board. I got shares to show I'm on board. But he's not going to do that every game, right? Like he's not doing that every game. So that's where you can see maybe does the market overreact, right? But like they're projecting Jeffers to hit third tonight, right? Like I like that matchup against, right? When he's batting third, he's going to get some more at bats, right? Like,
so what would you take him for? Maybe I would probably lean into the runs RBIs thing there for Jeffers because McCullers walks so many guys that, you could have the best hitter in the world against the worst pitcher in the world, but sometimes he'll just walk them 3 times and you don't even get a chance.
Well, look at Soto did it to us last night. Soto was one of our bets. And Washington just kept walking him.
Yeah.
Right. They pitched to him to start. And then the last, when they went through all that stuff, the last 2 at bats, they just walked him. We didn't even get a chance for him to swing. And then he ended up, and then, popped up on, the guy throwing there. But yeah, like I'm going to go look at Jeffers and say, hey, what's available today? What bets are there? And kind of, see what's available. I definitely like him more on the hit run RBI side.
Yeah. There's also hits. What is it? Hits, steals, RBIs. There's a market on DraftKings that
that's a newer market that just started. I'm tracking it because I want to see the value on it. Like I'm kind of like mathing it out right now. Like,
if you have a leadoff hitter that can steal, then you want him for a steal more than you want for an RBI. So you got to be smart like that.
Correct. I just want to make sure, right? If he's 500 to steal a base, but it's hit, steal, RBI, and they're taking the juice down to 105, right? I want to see where they're right. That's what I'm looking for is where they, where they land that at, right? But we get, guys up front like Terang or something batting leadoff, a guy that I know is going to run. I'm going to go look at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to get RBIs from the leadoff spots. You got to keep that in mind. You went into detail on the OU model. I don't think it went well last night. I don't remember the thing, but the big one was Milwaukee and Chicago. We had way under. And
Shota went off. Like Shota went back to normal Shota yesterday. Shota's been unhittable this season. Yeah. He went back to like normal Shota yesterday.
And I don't think it was even like a home run. We gave up 2 home runs, but it wasn't like he gave up 4 homers out of the gate like his usual problem would be. The wind didn't seem to really play a factor, but he couldn't get whiffs. So it wasn't really the win, but we were against for that reason, and we took a loss there. So hopefully nobody went too crazy. But
it's why we just bet a unit, right? Like I'm not betting 5 units on something like that, right? Yeah. We bet a unit, and again, if the market, I want to talk about this because it's important. If I can see that the public money it was 74% last time I looked was on the over. Yeah. I love betting the other side because that's where books make all their money is when the public's massively over on one side, right? They want the other side of that game.
Yeah. And they tend to adjust the line to try to get that more to 50-50, right? So they kind of reduce some of the risk. I could be wrong about that. I'm not
No, so that's what juice is. Okay. Yeah. So, right, in their ideal world, when they're adjusting the line, what they're doing is they want the money essentially evenly spread, and then they make the money on the juice.
And they can't lose.
Minus 110 to minus 125, on that other side. It's like, why peer-to-peer, right? I wrote up that article about I'm not a nerfy guy. It's the most overbet thing. It's all over X still. It's one of the least EV things you can bet. I told you, don't go bet it.
Yeah.
But if you're going to, go to peer-to-peer somewhere like Bet Openly, where at least you can get some odds that aren't going to crush you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's, like, and again, this is, make sure you're doing it for fun. Like, don't, I'm at the mortgage on this, right? You're never going to hear me say like, oh, this is a 10-unit whale max goat, whatever. Yeah. Right? Like, you're never going to see me do that. And that's entertainment. And that's cool. It's funny. But like, don't do that, right? Like when I'm betting the unit size, I'm doing it because I'm managing my bankroll.
Yeah. All right. So today, OU, so these have been, it was at 57% win rate as of yesterday. It might have ticked down a point. I think it was a bad day. But first one, we'll go through these quickly. Blue Jays, Yankees over 8.5. The adjusted projection is 1.9 over that, 10.4 run. So it's Cease against Warren. I mean, Yankee Stadium, Cease, maybe the home run problem comes back a little bit. He's only given up 1 this year, but sometimes you go with the numbers. Sometimes you can take or leave these. You don't have to take every single one. But again, overall, it's been very successful. But we like a little bit of Blue Jays, Yankees to go over with Cease and Warren. Any thoughts on that? I don't really like Will Warren, so that would.
Yeah, I'm not a Will Warren guy. I think it's I think this is a good Varsho spot. If I'm looking at Toronto, right, I'll kind of like where he is. I think there's, with the wind blowing out in that porch, I think the lefties are going to get I think there's going to be a lot of home run projections and people on there today. And again, I'm just not a massive Warren guy. Okamoto's also been a little cold. This is a good spot for him versus Warren. He got a little cold there. And then if you're looking at DFS, talking about that game, if you want to go after that, right? Pinago is still only $2,800. He's probably going to bat second again. That's a great spot to, save some salary as you start looking at guys as they go through. I haven't looked at his actual projection yet, but I like that side of it.
Yep. And, Cease has been really good, probably due for some home run regression. Again, only one given up. So I kind of like the over there. We're talking specifically over-under bets here. We like the over, so we're on the opposite side of Milwaukee at Chicago. The model says over 7.5. Houston at Minnesota, it says over 8.5. And one under here, Cleveland at Detroit. It's a Parker Messick night against Kader Montero. Messick has been very good. Montero is not great, but he seems to somehow survive. So the model is on the under there. So we can go into some home run picks next, but anything more on kind of this OU stuff?
No. So I look at this, though, and say, hey, does the model like this over? So when I'm looking at games, it's there. And then also what I look at is like, okay, hey, I look at this game, Cease is probably going to end up the highest owned pitcher tonight, maybe. He's going to be top 3 just because Mizorowski's 11K and Cease is only 10. And he's been so hot that we'll talk about some of the pitchers. I like other spots today.
Yeah.
But that's, I think that's some of what we're going to see.
All right. Yeah. So we'll go into one more thing I'll throw up here. This is the home run model. All of this stuff that you're seeing is totally available for all paid subscribers in the Google Sheet or on the app. Let me know if you have any trouble finding that. I'll help you out. But what this does is looks at projected home runs, compares it with the price. So my model will have a home run projection. It'll assign what the fair book price would be, and then it'll compare it with what the books are giving you. And then I also threw in as an addition this year this matchups model thing, which we already described, the same one that the Boom Hitters is based on. It looks for above average barrel and swinging strike rate spots for these guys. So it's kind of a double check here. A lot of names on the screen, but let's focus in. If you're watching this, you can jot those down or just hit the sheet yourself and take this. We're not going to go through these, but your guy Dalton Varsho shows up here. So just as an example, 418 for a homer on DraftKings. My model would say that should be 320 up against Will Warren. Will Warren has troubles with lefties, so he gets the matchups model thing here. Against stuff like Warren throws, 10.9% barrel rate, 12.2% swinging strike rate. And that's over the MM score thing is kind of like 0 to 1. How good is it? So he's a little bit over that. So a lot of these guys here, all of these guys with the recommended equals Y will check all those boxes. And I know they've been above, started really well. We had one really big day. I think it's been down a little bit lately, but still well in the positives, right? If you're still tracking that.
Yeah. I'll tell you who sticks out to me on that is Austin Wells, okay. Right? As we talked about, Cease is due for some regression. I get like he's either going to have like the best pitching season in the history of Major League Baseball, or he's going to have some regression. The math says he's going to have some regression. So, right, you start looking at Wells. Hey, we can get him at 7.10 today. We got wind blowing out, short porch. He's got a 22% barrel rate and an 837 MM score. Like, okay, like those are right. So now I'm probably also going to go look at his hit, run, and RBI and say, hey, can I use that to hedge the home run, right? Yeah. Like, or total bases. Like, I'll look at both. But like, that's one that like stands out to me as I quick glance at that.
Wells against righties in Yankee Stadium. It hasn't gone super well this year, but I'll pull up the numbers on that. That's a good shout out because we like the home run picks that are at least 5 to 1 or something. Plus 700 is pretty nice. You can have a pretty big night if that hits. Last 2 years, Wells against righties, 313 expected WOBA, but 17 bombs and 390 plate appearances. So he doesn't hit for average, strikes out a bit against righties still, but a 408 slug, 17 homers. When he hits one at home against a righty, it's fine in the seats quite often.
Right? I mean, it's 90 degrees, the wind's blowing out. Yeah. Everybody's going to be on there. Again, just with what we're getting him at, for a guy that this year has actually had a decent hard hit rate, right? He's had a 51.6% hard hit rate this season. When he makes contacts, it goes. So that's a spot like, okay, hey, just like DFS, you got to get some of those guys right. But when you get it, it pays well versus, do I want to go bet Judge at plus 202 for a home run today? No. Like, there's no value. The books have sucked the value out of those kind of bets. I do want to give a shout out to this because I've literally texted this to John before. I hope you all find someone that loves you the way his model loves Taylor Ward.
Yeah, Is he on here again? Oh yeah, he's right there.
Yeah.
He lives on this sheet. I don't know.
Yeah.
You should probably just stop doing that. There might be something wrong, but
but again, like take a look at those kind of things as you're going.
Is he stuck on 1 home run still? Taylor Ward.
I haven't looked recently.
He's got hit 37 last year or whatever, 36. He got 1, still just 1, a 4.8% barrel rate. So that's not going well. But let's shift over to maybe some DFS specific stuff. If you want more bets, Trevor will come out with them in the daily slip, MLBDatawarehouse.com. Check that out. I will do a better screenshot of this right now because that looks ugly. But who are we liking? Mizurowski at $11,000 in DFS. That is tough. I'm writing up the slate preview. It'll be out shortly after this concludes, but he's tough to play there.
Yeah, I mean, I just again, that eats so much, right? So you got to have him put up 22 points to just 2 extra money. Okay, so he's got to strike out 10. Is that in his wheelhouse? Absolutely. But you're betting him at his peak right now, essentially is what you're doing. That's not there. Now, again, I love his ownership stay there. Detmers obviously pops against the Athletics who K a ton, right? We've seen how much they K. And then so I like him. And here's something I don't mind doing is I'll stack games with pitchers. So I don't hate dropping down. If you look at the sheet, going $6,500. He's a 2.55 value today with a 16.5 projection, right? We saw what Ginn just did last. Oh, that was heartbreaking, by the way. Seeing the highlight of Ginn giving up the no-hitter in the bottom, to Anita walk-off. But, right, $6,500, and not a lot of people are going to stack that. But, right, give
Jacob
me a
Lopez.
Right, yeah, Jacob Lopez. Give me a 4% owned guy, right, versus Dylan Cease, I think Cease's ownership is going to go massively up as more lineups come in. I think Zebby's is going to end up really high today at price. And then the guy I think that ends up probably the highest owned is Sheehan. I think Sheehan versus San Diego tonight ends up the chalk just because of his pricing. I like Emmett, but I in GPP I'll mix guys in. But in single entry 3 max, I'm trying to get lower owned guys versus a cash, right? A crazy cash lineup because you have to go find a bunch of cheap bats is go throw Cease and Jacob, Mizurowski, and right but you're down 22. But if you're looking for 4, that's a lot of money.
It'll be interesting to see Mizurowski's ownership tonight. I'm just not going to. I'm just going to exclude. If I play, I got to go to my son's preschool graduation, so maybe I should just take it off. Just not even be distracted at all. But if I would play, I would just leave Mizurowski off. There's a lot of good pitchers here. Cease is more reasonably priced. Sheehan I like a lot. And then, so Reed Detmers, I don't know. I guess he's probably not in cash consideration, but worth pointing out that Oakland this year against lefties has a 665 OPS, a 238 batting average. 41 of their 51 team homers have come against righties. So the story with Nick Kurtz, really doesn't hit lefties very well. They're not a super left-handed lineup, but it's just a much worse unit against left-handed pitching. And Demers has gotten some strikeouts, mid-20s strikeout rate. It hasn't been the best. He's never consistent. He often has the underlying numbers you like, but it just doesn't play out. But for tournaments, I'm a big fan of his. And I guess I can get behind the Jacob Lopez thing. I mean, he's been so bad, but the Angels just bleed strikeouts. And it's in, Lopez has been hurt by the Sacramento Park, and this one's in Anaheim. So I can get behind that.
Right. Think about this. He always got to put up 18 points to go 3x. That's the upside of interesting because I saw the Kumar news that they're going with Ty Alexander now. I didn't know who they were going to play, so I just saw that. So they had scratched Kumar earlier. I saw a notification.
Yeah. It's double opener in Colorado.
Yeah.
The Rockies called some guy up for Sammy Peralta from AAA. Yeah. It's AAA reliever to throw an inning tonight. So, but lower temperatures. I guess a bullpen game. Neither of those bullpens are good. But would you say that bullpen games are kind of bad for hitting just because they can kind of pick and choose their matchups?
100%. I avoid bullpen games with all costs in DFS. I'm not, again, I'm not trying to go there. I'm not trying to really bet on them. Again, the weather's cold here. I'm in Colorado right now. It's cold. It's been rainy. That's a game that's off. And what I hope is people see the two bullpens and they start pushing some ownership towards it, so we get less owned players otherwhere.
So what games do we? So pitching wise, I guess we can. We're not really into the high ownership guys if you're playing tournaments, but Detmers, Lopez. How about you? Said Sheehan a little bit. What about Ben Brown, Bryce Miller? Anybody else here? Kind of.
Yeah, I mean that's where I go, right? Like, so I would be mixing and matching those guys in, right?
Or Ryan Nelson too. Throw him in.
I also don't hate Jax.
Yeah.
Tonight. He's not on me.
It's the Turbo Slate.
Yeah, he's on Turbo Slate. I didn't have everything up. So right, value wise, again, Bryce for sure. Ben Brown, Sheehan, that's who I would have it. With Detmers, Lopez. I'd have a little bit of K exposure, like 1% if I'm making 150 lineups. Right, I'd have some K exposure, but I'd have 5% Miller, 5 to 10% Brown. I mean, Detmers would be my most owned. I kind of mix that in there. I'm not going to go throw Canning, against the Dodgers. I'm not pitching Will Warren. I'm not trying to mess with Suarez or Mizorowski. Those are kind of spots.
Yeah. This will all be my takes will be in the written article, but Ryan Nelson at 67 against the Giants is really good. He's been really good the last 3. I think he's got 13 strikeouts in his last 2. The price hasn't come up. He's pitched better. 4-seam fastball usage has actually been down, which you like to see. He's been so dependent on that 4-seamer for so long. He's been like almost 2/3 4-seamers, but last 3 starts he's dropped it down to 56% or something like that, and that's worked. No guarantees, but for 6,700, a lot of the risk is taken away. So there's the pitching thoughts. We've got some team hitting projections here on the board. This is for my model, all 9 hitters stacked up. So we're kind of off the Texas-Colorado game if we think the ownership's going to be there, which it always is, and the bullpen thing probably doesn't drop the ownership like it should. I totally agree there that even if you have a bad bullpen, like at least you can go pick your matchup, send your lefties up against those lefties or whatever. So other than Texas and the Yankees are the only ones projected above 70 points, but some decent ownership on them there. And the Yankees are against Cease, though. So isn't that kind of an appealing stack? If we don't, you wouldn't think that people are going to stack the Yankees very much against Cease. And I kind of like that idea.
I love it, right? So if let's start looking at value, right? The Dodgers are 42.4, right? The Yankees at 35.5 against what's probably going to be the second highest owned pitcher on the slate, with the second best projection. Like those are the spots that I like attacking. Like that's where you can win a ton of money, in my opinion, is, going after those type of, lower ownership, right? So they're probably going to be the 4th or 5th highest owned stack. But with the second best projection and the amount of money you're saving is great. Like I love saving that money there.
Yep. Lefty's probably a little better. Yankee Stadium kind of favors them, but obviously not going to talk you off of Judge or anything like that. So here's the Yankees projections in the model.
Well, let's talk about that. That's where, if you're in a big GPP, if you're like in the main, if you want to differentiate your lineup, don't play Judge, right? Pay up for Ben. Jazz is finally getting his stuff together, right? You got Grisham, Bellinger, and
Austin Wells,
right? $2,500. You're putting a catcher, and you can. My dog's outside, so I have a French Mastiff. So when he wants attention, he starts barking. So he can wait. Right. That's a spot where if you start looking at what his ownership's going to be. Like, let's look at what are we looking at ownership today on Judge, right? Like 13% right now. So, right, if he's one of the higher owned hitters, there's a way to get different, in that situation. So, and if you really need to save the salary somehow, right, you can, punt down to figure out how to get Spencer Jones in there. Again, kid has a ton of upside. He's not crushing it yet by any means, but, that option's there.
Yeah, cool. Oh, who else here? I mean, the Dodgers are up against Canning. I noticed they're like their implied run total, which is based on the betting lines,
Yep.
it seemed really low to me. The Dodgers are implied for like 5.4 runs or something like that. They're oftentimes over 6. I don't know why these books seem to like Canning, but I think there's some. Maybe it's more of a betting thing, bet the Dodgers over team total or something like that. But yeah, Canning is not imposing by any means, and the Dodgers are here number 3.
Yeah, it's he's not, but it's also their price. But I like what you said there. Like, why? So for me, I look at that. Like, why are the books saying this is like the books are saying this? So their math is giving us
Padres bullpen, maybe. I mean, their bullpen is so good. So maybe they think whatever Canning will get through 4 innings and survive, and then the bullpen will shut it down. So that's a good consideration there. There's bullpen data on the app as well. If you go through each game, you can click the show bullpens and see the numbers there. But Padres are elite.
Yeah. So right. I mean, you got to you start talking about Jeremiah and Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. What's his name? Retweeted that fake post. Nightingale retweeted there's somebody made a fake post saying they were giving Mason Miller $300 million, and he like freaked out. He retweeted it, talking all kinds of crap, and that from there. So yeah, I mean, right. Jason Adams also been really good.
Mahoney. They're all been so good. They're the number 1 bullpen in the model today. This will it's in the web app in the game previews tab. This will even take out the guys that should be unavailable, but nobody's unavailable here for them today.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the stack I like that I wish you had projected a little bit higher.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great matchup is your boys today, right? Your boys get to face, Libator.
Yeah.
He's given up 9 jacks this year, right? It's, weather's going to be nice. Got a win out.
He's left-handed and they don't have O'Hearn though. It's like,
right. But listen to this. So this is why I get right. He's lefty, but he's not been good against lefties. He's given up a 16% barrel rate, a 51% hard hit rate, a 35% fly ball rate, and a 38.5 home run fly ball rate to lefties this year. He's actually given up more home runs to lefties than he has to righties. Now, I know I'm not going full stack, right, with it. But who I like Connor Griffin today. I think at his price, I think it's a good spot for Connor. Right?
Probably hit 2 like it's here. He's probably gonna be at top of the lineup because O'Hearn's out.
Yep. Yeah. So like I like Connor here. Your boy just got called up, right? So if I want to save a little bit of salary and get some other, big guys in there, I'm gonna go and be like, hey, let's go. Again, I think it goes right. We think it goes Cruz, Griffin, Reynolds. But what if Garcia's hitting 5th or 6th today, right? And he's 2K. Right? The strikeout rate's off. We know he strikes out a ton, but right, this is a guy that can put the bat on the ball.
Yeah, he's hit AAA pitching well, and you could argue that maybe Liberatore is kind of a AAA pitcher.
You can make that argument.
Weather there, 70 degrees, so fine. A little bit of rain, but I don't think anybody's too worried about that. So. No. That's interesting. Where were those? I mean, the big value teams, what you can also do on the app, and maybe I will do that. You can select the lineup spots. I'll leave it here. This is all 9, but you can go through and select the 1 through 5 and see how the projection stacks stuff. So it's a pretty cool tool. I don't know how many other websites are doing that kind of stuff, but big values for the Giants against Ryan Nelson. I think that's fair enough. The Red Sox taking on the Bailey Falter of the Royals. So pretty good spot for the Red Sox. They're not good in the park stuff. The Royals hasn't been a great place to hit. I mean, the over-under is only at 7.5. How about that? Ranger Suarez against Bailey Falter, over-under 7.5. We got to like the Boston Red Sox a bit there.
Yeah, and I mean, Suarez has been a little bipolar this season. Yeah. So he's had some good outings. He's had some Matty Wood post-worthy outings. So he's kind of been bipolar there. But overall, he's not walking a ton. He's only given up 3 home runs. And then, so much for bringing the fences in at, in KC and having it make all the difference. And, speaking of AAA pitchers, Brady Falter's throwing today. So
yeah, over 7.5 feels pretty. I'm shocked at how low that is. So, I mean, the model didn't pick it out, so maybe it's right, but I
don't love that spot. Like I would, if I'm looking back at like projections, one of the things I'm going to look at is who's going to be super high owned. Okay. So example, if Sheehan goes through the roof for me, like through the roof in ownership, and he ends up like number 2 or almost 2, like right at 3 ownership, I would work some Sox stacks in. And I'm a or Sox stacks. I'd work some San Diego stacks in against him, even though he's been good. And, just kind of work that side. And then where I was going with the Seattle game, Bryce Miller, I kind of like the lefty spots there. Jared's still pretty cheap looking at his price today. The lefty spots, right? Like, what's he?
This is something else. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I ran. Yeah. I ran the. I ran 30 lineups in the optimizer on the game just to like kind of do what you said, see what the projections really like. And this was I let it do 100% global exposure. So it ended up on Detmers and Sheehan every single time. So those are your best value projection guys on the pitching side. Over here on the hitter side, we have a Braxton Fullard play at 2,000 in cores. So people are going to like that. Ezekiel Duran, Matt Chapman, Aaron Judge, Bryce Eldridge coming up a lot for the Giants against Nelson in Arizona. So that makes some sense. A lot better hitting place for home runs in Arizona compared to San Francisco. Chisholm, Adele, Antonacci, Connor Griffin. I like the Angels a little bit too, just to throw on. I know we talked about Jacob Lopez already, but Lopez can give up home runs. He hasn't been good at all, and the Angels can actually hit some homers against left-handed pitching. So I'd throw them on as a consideration. Yeah,
I'd for sure have some exposure to them. The issue with Bryce is I'm a massive Giants fan. Like, I won't get into my disdain for Torrey so far. They're just not using him, right? Like, basically, he's just a pinch hitter. Yeah. So I'm not loving that side of it. Like, I don't want guys that are going to get pinch hit for, on that side of it. And one thing is I've had some flop lag. I bet Trout last night, so I might just go back there today just because, I've had a lot of guys hit the next day afterwards. So I like that side of it. So those are spots I'd be checking out. And agree in the comments in the chat. Ranger coming off start where he gave us all his Billies. Agreed. Like, I'm not going to have much exposure today. So I'm not going to have a ton on him. Who are the best? I haven't got to the best value bats today.
Let's do that, then we'll wrap it up. We got to close it up in a couple minutes. But here's your top projection hitters on the screen: Judge, Ohtani, Springer, Vlad, Jordan. You can read the rest. Values, I'll get it on the screen here. Typically going to be those super low price guys, but let me throw that up. We have, anybody 2K. Yep. We have Jostinson Garcia. I can actually spell that name, but I can't pronounce it. But you have 4 hitters here at Jose Siri, Garcia, and Braxton Fuller at 2K. Rob Refschneider against another lefty at just 2,200. So you're pretty much only going to see sub $3,000 hitters on the values. But there you go. Penango's here. You mentioned him earlier. Plenty to like. Big slate. Should be a lot of fun. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, let's go take some other stuff down. It's been fun. We're going to try to do this every Tuesday. It's a big slate. If we could squeeze another in, John and I will. But yeah, I'm excited. Let's keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah, leave your feedback. What do you want us to focus on? Should we structure it a certain way? Probably. We'll figure something out. Let's first go at it. But MLBDataWarehouse.com. Become a standard subscriber, $11.99 a month to get all the written content from Trevor and me. If you're into DFS, that comes with a DFS preview pretty in detail. I think it's one of the best on the internet at every day but Sunday. We don't do Sundays. Take the day of rest. Go to church and do our thing that way. And then at least 5 days a week, often 6. I think you even might have done 7 last week for the daily slip, Trevor. So MLBDataWarehouse.com, and that'll do it. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Big Data Warehouse, yeah, we bring the spree. Prospects, DFS, betting strategy. John's grumpy, Tim scouting like a man possessed. Doc drafting comeback stories better than the rest. But the tools are elite and the content's free. And your fantasy trophy gonna look prestigious.